You hear the floorboards beneath you creak. You wonder, am I alone? You go back to sleep, only to never be seen or heard from again. Podcast listeners, we are diving deep into the unknown and the unsolved. We will be taking a look at those taken too soon, but their fate has remained unknown. In this episode, we will be talking about Carolyn Nevin. Welcome to Lethal and on the Loose, True Crime Stories. I'm your host, Lillian Griffith. Listener discretion is advised. Carolyn Nevin's murder. It is one of the most notorious unsolved murder cases in Omaha, Nebraska's history. It took place on December 9th, 1955. It was a cold and dark night. Carolyn Nevin, a student at the University of Nebraska, Omaha, spent the day of December 9th studying and participating in her debate club. Carolyn was a popular student and described by her peers as brilliant and attractive. This was a typical Friday for Carolyn. After she felt she had done enough studying, she left the library at around 9:55 and headed towards the Arts and Sciences Hall, located on the opposite end of campus. There, she waited for her dad, who usually picked her up around 10 p.m. Her English teacher, Frank Paulson, saw her still waiting for her ride at around 10:55 at night. Even though Carolyn's father was unusually late, she declined and continued waiting for her father. That was the last time Miss Nevin was seen. Her father came to pick her up at 11:32 p.m., but he didn't see her and assumed she had went with friends and left. He didn't call the police or think anything was suspicious until around 3:25 a.m., when she didn't return home. No one reported seeing any sign of a struggle. Nevin was found the next morning, cold, dead, and alone, buried under some lightweight snow dusting not far from the Arts and Sciences Hall. It was near the bus stop. When she was discovered, she was clutching 2 dimes in her hand. It was about 4:15 a.m. when she was discovered. She was shot 4 times by a .32 caliber pistol. Nevin was shot twice in the arm, once in the left shoulder, and once in the chest. Her clothes were found disheveled. Her skirt was pulled up, and her undergarments were removed. Still, there was no evidence of rape. However, there were a lot of problems with the accuracy of rape kits in the 1950s, so she still most likely was. Carolyn's murder is considered to be one of the biggest manhunts in Omaha history and is still unsolved today. The chief deputy sheriff at the time was Jack Knudsen. He believes that Nevin got into a car with someone and that the body was later returned to the scene. Gunshots were also reported around midnight near the intersection of 48th and Chicago streets. A couple stopped by the university to pick up their vehicle around 1 a.m., and they saw no sign of Nevin, and neither did the World Herald delivery man. This leads people to believe she was still with her killer until around 3 a.m. Oddly enough, University Police Officer Charles Clausen was leaving work around midnight, and his car was almost struck by another car traveling unusually fast through the parking lot without stopping. Carl Kuhlman was the university night watchman. He also reportedly saw the same car with 2 people in it, but he could not make out the make or model of the vehicle. In the first month of the investigation, police tested over 300 revolvers the public turned in. In the first 6 months after the murder, the lie detector test was given out to 92 people to eliminate suspects. Lamone Snyder, a criminal investigator from Michigan, was called on to help with the case, along with over 30 members of the Omaha Police Department. With the amount of murders in cities today, police don't have the manpower to put that many officers or detectives on the case. A man from Long Beach, California, confessed to the murder in 1956, but the man was let go because his story did not align with the evidence and his story had too many holes. Despite all the work and tips that went into this investigation, Carolyn's case still remained unsolved. Now, I want to share with you guys my theory. So, a tall, skinny man was seen lurking near the bus stops while Caroline was waiting for her ride. She was alone most of the time, so it would have been easy for this man to take her. 4 people reported seeing this man and reported seeing Caroline. The report from the Omaha World-Herald was quoted saying, "Get the man who was at the bus stop, and you have solved the case." But they never got the man. Most of the time with murders, if it isn't a serial murder, it is someone the victim knows. I think she knew whoever her killer was enough to trust her or him to take her home. I think it was a male, but I don't think she was comfortable with her English teacher dropping her off. So I think this was someone she was close with, right under her friends' and family's noses, and the Omaha Police Department's. I believe it might have been a boy from her debate team. Probably a white, skinny male around 20 years old to match the description. I think she was clutching the dimes as maybe a form of payment for taking her home. But the man had another idea. She was raped and shot. After shooting this man down, he was probably embarrassed because he would see her the following week. I bet this killer was unsuspecting and maybe even seemed weak and incapable to those around him. Miss Evans, based on the evidence, seemed to die a slow death. I believe she tried to get help before she died, but she was too frail to make it. If this murder happened today, maybe Caroline's perpetrator would have been found, but we will never know unless the Omaha Police Department decides to open the case again. However, that only happens if new evidence is found. That being said, this is still one of the most notable murder cases in Omaha, Nebraska to date. Caroline's killer most likely lived a free and happy life. Maybe he is still even alive today. Thank you for listening to Lethal and On the Loose. I will be back next time with a brand new episode. For more information on the Carolyn Nevin's murder, check out FBI.gov and the UNO Gateway. You can find this podcast for free. Just search Lethal and On the Loose into your podcast app. And if you enjoyed the show, please leave a review. Follow me on Facebook and Instagram at Lillian Griffith. Let's talk murder and crimes next week. If there is a next week. This has been a Lillian Griffith Productions.